All right, we are going to look at proportions of the face. You've kind of gone through and looked at individual facial features, and we're just going to go through and throw them back together all on the face one more time to make sure you understand how all that works together. So we're looking at the face that we're going to draw, and if we'll look at the bottom of the chin and the top of the head, and then the middle of the right side and the middle of the left side, we can see that when we connect these, they go straight up and down and straight across, just like we talked about our divide lines earlier. So you want to make sure that you're looking at that first. You want to draw your 4 arrows, and then you want to see when you connect them, does it go straight across, or does it curve downward, or does it curve upward? The one that goes up and down vertically, you want to make sure it's going straight across or curving one way or the other. That's the first thing you have to figure out. Once you figure that out, then you have to figure out, how am I going to get this to fill up this space? Because we want to draw big. We don't want like a little bitty face in the middle of all this blank space. We want to have about the same amount of room that's left over here on our piece of paper over here. So one thing that helps me is I take the whole sheet of paper and split it all the way across with my divide lines. And then I take my other sheet of paper and I split it as well. And what that does is it gives you a grid. It gives you 4 boxes to work in. So that way you can kind of make sure things are where they belong and the size that they need to be. So I know that from this point down is going to be from my eyes down. And I can see that I need some space left over at the bottom for my neck. And so I want to make sure I'm leaving that. So I'm going to jump up from the bottom of my paper, and I'm going to go up just a little bit and make a little mark. And then I've got to have room for this bun on the top. So I've got to make sure I leave some space up here. So I'm going to go to the top of my paper, and I'm going to jump down just a little bit here. And that's going to be about the size that my face lives in. Now, to help me on the right and the left, I'm going to look at how much space is here, and I want to try to have that much space as well. So I'm going to kind of make sure I'm leaving some space. So with this that's left, then I can look at the shape of her face. Her shape of her face is kind of wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. And so we've kind of got that upside down egg shape. And so if we widen it at the top, and then pull it down and narrow it at the bottom. Anything you draw right now does not have to stay this way. Remember that you're just sketching, so everything needs to be super, super light. Don't draw anything dark, because we may have to change it. We may decide that, that line's wrong, or we need to change a line or whatever. And that's just part of drawing. You kind of auto correct the whole time you're drawing stuff and change it as you need to. Once we're kind of happy with the shape of our face, we're going to reassess if our eyes are in the center. So if this is my top and this is my bottom, once I kind of left my space, then I'm going to think that my eyes are probably just a little bit higher, about right here. Yours may not be. Yours may be, right where you had it, depending on how you split your page up. That line keeps going crooked. All right. While I'm looking at my eyes, I know that I've got to split it up into some sections. So we know we've got probably one eye here, and then one eye here, and then one left over. Remember, you've got to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and they've got to be even. So you see how small this space is and how big this space is? That means that they're not even, so I don't have things spaced out right. So I'm going to go through and erase them all, and I'm going to look at it again. That's why I draw super light, so that when I make a mistake, I can fix it, right? So if this is the center, and then you have 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, those are more even than they were before. So I'm going to erase the ones that are in the middle, and I'm going to keep the ones that are on the in the middle part of it. Then I'm going to look at the shape of that eye, and I'm going to refine it just a little bit. So I'm going to make that curved line, this one right here, this curved line where the eyelashes are. And then there's also this curved line that's going to be shaded that's above it. And so right now I'm just mapping things out, right? I'm trying to figure out where things go and what they look like and the space that they fill. I may come back later and change it, but I've got to start somewhere. And so if you make a mistake, don't worry about it. You can come back and fix it. You can change it. Just because you make a mark doesn't mean it has to stay there. All right. Once I kind of get that figured out, then I'm going to look at my pupils and my irises, and I see that it goes all the way to the top and a little bit of the bottom is cut off. So I want mine to be the same way. All right. Then we're going to look at her nose specifically, and we're going to look at if this is the eyes and this is the chin. Her nose is pretty much following that rule of half. So we want ours to follow that rule of half as well. So her nose will end somewhere around there, maybe a little bit higher. And then her mouth, if we look at it and we take the corner of each side of the mouth and pull it across, it's about halfway between her nose and her chin. So we want ours to be about halfway as well. I'm noticing that my chin is a little bit pointed and hers is flat on the bottom. And so I'm going to pull that chin in a little bit like so. And that's going to give me a little bit more of her shaped face and not that generic egg. And so the more that you kind of change things to your specific person that you're drawing, the less generic it looks and the more it starts turning into her, into him, into whatever person you're trying to mimic. So if we look at the jawline right here, it goes out and then up. And so now that we've kind of fixed our chin, we want to make sure we go out and it ends about where her lip is. So if this is our lip line, it's going to go out to that lip line and then it's going to pull straight up. So we're going to go out and then straight up. And that kind of changes this as well. And then on this side, it kind of goes out a little bit below, like right where the chin is, and then it kind of curves around. So we're going to go out and then we're going to curve around like so. And so changing these little things about the face as you go, as you see them, is really what helps the face look like that person. All right, back to proportions. We've kind of got where the nose goes and we've kind of got where our mouth goes. Now we're going to decide how wide is our mouth and how wide is our nose. So if we take the side of her nose and we pull it straight up, it's a little bit in from the corner of her eye. That's a little bit different than what most people's are. Most people are right there on the edge. And so we're going to go to the edge of her eye and then go in just a little bit and pull that down. We're going to go to the edge of her eye, pull in just a little bit and come straight down. And so this is going to be about the space her nose lives in. Then we're going to take the outside edge of her lip and pull it straight up. And it's in the middle of the eye, in the middle of the eye. And we know that that's where her lips will end on those 2 points. Then she has her top lip that's going to live in this part and her bottom lip that lives in this part. So I'm just going to kind of very, very lightly kind of sketch those in a little bit. Not exactly what they're going to look like, but we're just trying to figure out where things go, right? Next, we're going to look at her eyebrow. And so if you look at the corner of her eye and you go straight up, that's where her eyebrow starts. And then if you come out here to the edge, it's kind of at an angle like this on the edge. So we want ours to be the same. We want to go straight up and out at an angle. And then I'm going to look at how much space from this line I drew is the eyebrow. And I'm going to go up just a little bit. And then that's about the space. Now, I don't like to draw my eyebrows with a hard line. I like to kind of sketch it in so that it looks like hair at the end. This may not be the shape I keep, but for right now, it's kind of just giving me kind of an indication of where it's going to go and how long it's going to be. On this side, if we go straight up, that's where her eyebrow starts. And then out from the corner is where it ends. I'm going to look at how much space between the crease and the eyebrow, and that's where I'm going to start. And her brows are a lot more sparse here and here than what mine are here. And so I'm definitely going to have to go back and kind of erase some there, especially when I start shading and I really start putting those textures in. Don't be afraid to use your eraser. It's as good of a tool as your pencil is. And as you use it, it'll kind of fix some of those mistakes. Now we're going to look at ears. If you look at the top of her ear and you pull it straight over, hers is a little high. It's even with that crease. It's not even with the center of her eye. And so we're going to take that crease and pull it straight over. And then we're going to look at the right side. And on the right side, it's a little lower. It's like in between the crease and the eye. So we're going to go in between the crease and the eye and come over. Then I'm going to look at the bottom of the ear. I'm going to pull it over. And it's pretty much even with the nose. So it's pretty much even. So then we know our ear is going to live in this area. All right, now we need to look at the neck. If we look at the neck and we pull it straight up, it's even with the corner of that eye. The neck straight up, even with the eye. And then we look at how much space is between the chin and where the neck kind of changes to shoulder. And we want that same amount of space as well. And so we kind of have to look at where that is. And then she's got that shirt that's kind of over here to the side. And we may just see like a little piece of that one on that side. All right, next is hair. Remember that the top of the head that you draw is not where her hair is, right? Like the hair doesn't go from this point up. This is the top of her scalp. So that's going to be like right here, right where that bun starts. And so she's got all of this section from here to here that is hair. And so we need that amount of space too. So we're going to go to the top of the skull and come down. And her hairline is right even with her ear, and it goes up and over and across. So we're going to go up and over and across, and then back around to that other ear. Then on top, like if this is the top of the skull, we've got like this bow material and this bun. And so we want to make sure that we draw all that as well. So I want to see where this bow material starts. And so I'm going to figure out what it's lining up with. So if I take the corner of my eye and pull it up, it's pretty much even with that. So the that fabric is going to come all the way over here, and it kind of gathers like so. And then that's this shape right here. That's what we're drawing. And then you've got this other little bit of fabric that's hanging out above it. And then you've kind of got the part that's tied. So there's this little part. And then the rest of the bow, this part, we've got to see where it ends. And it's kind of with the corner of this eye right here. It kind of goes at a little bit of an angle from the corner of the eye. And so we're going to pull that around. And then the bun comes straight up and in a little bit here and then over. And then my bun is way too high, right? Like this is not the same amount of space that I'm seeing here. And so I want to make sure I'm going back and looking at, did I draw it too high? What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And fix it then. Don't just like look at it and be like, oh, that's bad, and just leave it. If something's off, if something's wrong, fix it. So like right now, it kind of looks like everything's leaning to the right side of the stuff that's up here at the top. And so I want to pull this over a little more to kind of balance it out. And if yours doesn't look like that, then you don't have anything to fix. But mine does. So I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to let it just stay like that. All right, so now I'm going to pull this bun over just a little bit. All right, a little better, right? A little bit better. It's not quite so like, and if I wanted to keep kind of correcting and kind of fixing it, then, do that. Do it until it's right. Don't just let it be. Don't let it sit there and be wrong. Just because you're being lazy or just because you feel like you already drew it once, you're not going to draw it again. All right, there's one more piece of fabric, and it's really hard to see right here, but it's coming from the bow, and it's coming down her hairline, and then you see a little tail of it sticking out above the ear. So above the ear, about right here, is where we're going to end. And so we're going to go out like so. And that's going to be that little part of the bow that's sticking out. Okay, so this is pretty much the proportions of the face. Once you have all the proportions done, then you go back and you start looking at how to shade all of these parts, and that's when she's really going to start coming to life. That's when she's going to really start looking like her. When you're doing the rough in, the rough lay-in, the layout, whatever you want to call it, it's really hard to see what it's going to look like, and see what who the person is. The shading is what really brings it to life and makes it look like that person. So that's all we're going to do for this sheet, and then we're going to do another one next where we're going to add the shading to it so that we can throw it all together and start seeing how all that works together.